Let me begin by saying this. Success isn't something you pursue, it's something you attract, and you attract it by the person you become. Now I know what you're thinking. Jim, how do I become that kind of person? Well, let's start with this. Your mind is a garden, and whether you like it or not, something is growing in it. The weeds don't need permission, but the roses sure do. If you don't plant intentional thoughts, you'll inherit accidental results. I remember early in my life, I kept hoping for a better life. I kept asking for things to change. I thought success was waiting on the economy, the government, or even the weather. But one day, someone handed me the truth. For things to change, you have to change, and that hit me like a ton of bricks, because mindset isn't a gift, it's a choice. Every day, you decide if you're going to live by design or by default. Here's what I learned. You can't have $1 million dream with a 10-cent mindset. The level of your thinking determines the size of your results. Now, let me give you something practical. Start feeding your mind the way you feed your body. Read books that challenge you. Listen to ideas that stretch you. Hang around people who remind you of your future, not your past. If you change your input, you change your outlook. And if you change your outlook, well, now you've got leverage. That's when the shift begins. Success isn't magic. It's simply the consistent alignment of your thoughts, your beliefs, and your actions. You must believe that you're worthy, that you're capable, and most importantly, that you're responsible. That's the triple threat of mindset. Let me tell you this. Excuses are the language of the poor mindset. Ownership is the language of the successful one. And here's the good news. You don't need to be extraordinary to start. You just need to decide that ordinary is no longer enough. So the next time you catch yourself doubting, remember this. It's not the blowing of the wind that determines your destination. It's the set of the sail. And you set that sail in your mind long before the journey begins. Ladies and gentlemen, success doesn't begin with a plan. It begins with a mindset. Change your mind and you'll change your world. Don't let your circumstances write your philosophy. Is a call to personal responsibility, a reminder that life is not meant to be lived on autopilot, reacting to whatever happens, but to be steered with intent and clarity. Jim Rohn believed that while circumstances may shape parts of your environment, they should never shape the foundation of how you think, how you believe, or how you live. A person's philosophy, how they interpret the world, how they make decisions, how they respond to life, is the compass that determines the quality and direction of their life. And if that compass is handed over to circumstances, it spins with every change in the wind. There are people who let their circumstances become their identity. If they grew up poor, they believe they are destined to stay that way. If they faced rejection, they come to think they are unworthy of love or success. If something failed once, they convince themselves it will always fail. Their mindset becomes a mirror of what's around them, instead of a window to what's possible. But the truth is, your philosophy is not supposed to be written by hardship, failure, or disappointment. Those are just chapters of life, not the authors of it. A success mindset understands that circumstances are temporary. Tough times are not life sentences. Just because you were born into chaos doesn't mean you have to live in it. Just because someone betrayed you doesn't mean you have to live with distrust. Just because a door closed doesn't mean the hallway is empty. Philosophy is the story you tell yourself about life. And when you choose to write that story intentionally, you take the pen away from circumstance and put it in your own hands. Jim Rohn often taught that success is not a product of luck or environment, it's a result of refined philosophy. That means you have to choose how you see the world, how you interpret events, and how you respond to life. Two people can go through the same challenge. One will grow bitter, the other will grow stronger. The difference is not the challenge, It's the philosophy that interprets it. If you let your circumstances write your philosophy, you become reactive. You wait for good days to feel motivated. You need external validation to feel worthy. You believe you need a perfect environment to start, but successful people build their philosophy from a different place. They say, I will not let the past predict the future. I will not let failure define me. I will not wait for perfect conditions to take action. That mindset creates power. Circumstances can become an excuse or a platform. It all depends on what you believe about them. If you believe you are a victim, then every difficulty becomes another reason to stay small. But if your philosophy says, I am responsible for my growth, then every difficulty becomes a stepping stone. Your external situation doesn't have the power to control your internal growth unless you surrender it. When you build your philosophy on principles instead of events, you create consistency. Principles like discipline, gratitude, responsibility, honesty, and effort. They don't change with the economy. They don't rise and fall with emotions. They stay solid, and they help you stay solid too. A person who builds their life on circumstances becomes a slave to chance. A person who builds their life on philosophy becomes the master of direction. It's tempting to look at what's going wrong and let that shape your beliefs. It's easy to let disappointment drain your hope, to let failure shrink your confidence, to let rejection harden your heart. But that's exactly why you must take back control. Life will always present events outside your control. What remains within your control is how you interpret them. Your philosophy can turn pain into wisdom. It can turn failure into fuel. It can turn setbacks into setups, but only if it's chosen, not inherited. Many people were handed a philosophy early in life that was rooted in fear, limitation, and survival. Maybe they heard money doesn't grow on trees, or people like us never make it, or don't dream too big. Those ideas weren't facts. They were philosophies, passed down, not chosen, and if not questioned, they become permanent. But you have the power to rewrite the philosophy you were given. You can change the story. You can adopt a new lens. You can upgrade your belief system. To live well, you have to think well. And to think well, you must take ownership of your philosophy. Read new books. Listen to wiser voices. Reflect often. Build a set of beliefs that serve your future, not your fears. Surround yourself with people who talk about growth, possibility, and progress. Choose thoughts that align with where you want to go, not just where you've been. Feed your mind with ideas that stretch you, not shrink you. Your philosophy is the thermostat of your life. It sets the temperature. Circumstances might try to change the climate, but a strong philosophy brings it back to where it belongs. You don't control the weather, but you control the thermostat. And when you develop a mindset that is stronger than your surroundings, you become unstoppable. Jim Rohn's life is proof of this idea. He came from humble beginnings. He faced disappointment and financial struggle, but he didn't let those circumstances write his story. Instead, he developed a philosophy of discipline, reading, service, and personal growth. That philosophy lifted him out of limitation and into leadership. That's the power of deciding how you think, not just reacting to how life feels. You cannot rise above the philosophy you settle for. If your philosophy is small, your life will be small. If your philosophy is limited, your results will be limited. But if your philosophy is abundant, responsible, and courageous, you'll build a life to match it. It doesn't happen by chance. It happens by choice. So no matter what has happened to you, no matter where you've started from, no matter who tried to convince you that you couldn't, remember this. Your circumstances might describe your situation, but they don't define your future. Only your philosophy can do that. Your mind is the garden, your thoughts are the seeds, is one of the most powerful metaphors for personal development. It captures the entire process of how thoughts shape character, behavior, and ultimately destiny. The mind is not just a passive space where thoughts appear. It is an active field, fertile and waiting. Whatever is planted in it, positive or negative, will grow and multiply. Jim Rohn often emphasized this connection, teaching that the results of our life are rooted in the thoughts we consistently cultivate. When you think of a garden, you think of intentionality. No one plants a garden by accident. The flowers don't appear just because the soil exists. The gardener has to prepare the land, plant with purpose, water with discipline, and protect it from weeds. In the same way, your mind needs that same level of care. Quality of your life depends on the quality of your thoughts, and those thoughts must be chosen on purpose, not by habit or circumstance. Every day, you're planting something in your mind, a belief, an idea, a memory, a fear, a dream. If you're not planting something uplifting, motivating, or productive, the weeds of negativity, doubt, and fear begin to grow on their own. You don't have to work to grow weeds. They show up uninvited. But beautiful outcomes come from deliberate planting. That means it's not enough to hope for success, peace, or happiness. You have to plant the thoughts that lead there. Your thoughts are not random. They are seeds with consequences. A thought repeated enough becomes a belief. A belief drives actions. Actions form habits, and habits shape identity. It all starts with a seed. Think small thoughts, and you'll live a small life. Think abundant, disciplined, focused thoughts, and your life expands. What you think about consistently determines what you experience repeatedly. There's a reason why successful people guard their mindset like a treasure. They know that one bad seed, if left unchecked, can grow into a forest of limitation. That's why it matters what you feed your mind. If you're constantly exposed to fear, driven media, negative people, self-doubt, and toxic conversations, it's like pouring poison into your mental soil. Eventually, your mindset becomes polluted. But if you feed your mind with uplifting books, empowering conversations, positive affirmations, and bold visions, the soil becomes rich and fertile. It becomes a place where great ideas can grow. The garden of the mind also requires weeding. Even the best thinkers face doubt, fear, and limiting beliefs. The key is not to pretend those weeds don't exist, but to recognize them quickly and remove them early. A negative thought that's uprooted quickly has little power, but a negative thought that's allowed to grow becomes a belief, and beliefs are powerful forces. They become invisible scripts running your life in the background. So you must be vigilant. Catch yourself in limiting thoughts and replace them with stronger ones. Planting seeds is not always glamorous. You don't see results right away. The soil doesn't shout, "Great job, another thought planted today." It's quiet work, invisible work, but every seed you plant, every positive affirmation, every idea worth believing in, every moment of gratitude is creating a future harvest. The harvest always comes. It just doesn't come on your schedule. You don't plant seeds today and eat fruit tomorrow. You have to be patient, consistent, and persistent. What makes a successful mindset isn't that every thought is perfect. It's that the person has learned to plant more of the right seeds than the wrong ones. They plant daily. They nourish those seeds with action, learning, and vision. And over time, their mind becomes a powerful environment for success. They don't live by chance. They live by choice. The garden doesn't depend on the weather alone. It depends on the gardener. Sometimes the best seeds are hard truths, ideas that challenge your current level of thinking, thoughts that call you higher, that stretch your comfort zone. Planting those seeds can feel uncomfortable at first, but they produce some of the strongest roots. Growth doesn't always feel good in the beginning, but it always yields something valuable in the end. Your mind also grows what it hears most often. Repetition is water for your mental garden. That's why the things you say to yourself matter deeply. If you keep telling yourself, I'm not good enough, I always fail, or nothing ever works out, you're watering weeds. But if you consistently say, I'm learning every day, I am capable, I'm getting closer to my goals, you're watering the plants you actually want to grow. Another important truth is that you can't outsource your garden. No one else can think for you. No one else can choose your mindset. You are the gardener. You decide what grows. That's the freedom and the responsibility of life. If your thoughts are toxic, the results will reflect that. If your thoughts are clean, focused, and productive, your life will begin to reflect that too. The mind is a mirror. It reflects whatever you plant in it. And it's never too late to start gardening well. Even if you've neglected your mind for years, even if weeds have overtaken the landscape, you can begin today. Start by clearing space. Remove distractions, negative influences, and unhealthy patterns. Then plant just one new thought. Maybe it's belief in yourself. Maybe it's a new goal. Maybe it's forgiveness. Whatever it is, tend to it daily, water it with action, guard it with focus, and watch it grow. The difference between people who thrive and those who remain stuck isn't talent or luck. It's what they've chosen to plant in their minds. One person fills their mind with reasons why they can, the other with reasons why they can't. One sees possibilities, the other problems. One waters discipline, the other waters procrastination. And day by day, those thoughts become landscapes, one filled with opportunity, the other with excuses. Jim Rohn taught that we must stand guard at the door of our minds. Not everything deserves to be planted. Not every opinion, not every fear, not every voice deserves a seat in your garden. Be selective. Be intentional, because your thoughts today are the roots of your reality tomorrow. You don't attract what you want. You attract what you are, and what you are is deeply connected to what you think. The garden doesn't lie. It reveals whatever has been planted. If you don't like the results in your life, check the seeds. Trace your actions back to your beliefs. Trace your beliefs back to your thoughts, and start again, this time with better seeds. The soil is always ready. The harvest is always waiting. The question is, what will you plant?